Hey guys, sorry I couldn't be there today, but I'll be back tomorrow. I know I told you yesterday that we were going to talk about your papers and how to make your paper better. So today I wanted to still go over how to work on that very first opening paragraph. So go ahead and take out the sheet that looks like this. It should say first paragraph fishing at the bottom. Alright, you're going to first look at that box on the top left, and all you're going to write is hook. Your very first sentence of the very first paragraph should hook the reader in some way. Your hook is going to capture the reader's attention. It's something that makes your reader want to continue reading. It should be interesting. It should be something that makes me wonder what's going to be in the rest of your paper. It should also bring focus to your subject. You want to have your hook sentence as something that's relevant, something that's going to hook your reader and make them want to find out what your thesis is and what you're going to argue. Sometimes this means that you need background information that's relevant to your thesis. What do you need for your reader to know that will prepare them for what you are about to argue? One way you can maybe prepare your reader for what you're about to argue is by using a startling statement. If you use something that makes your reader really think, it's going to grab their attention. You can maybe even do this by asking a question, but you have to be careful with asking questions because that opens up the door to ask a question using a first person or a second person pronoun. And you cannot use the words I, we, you, or us. Remember that. If you're just dying to use those words, try to use the word the reader or the word one. We're going to move on to the second box, the one in the middle. And the second box is all about additional information. You've hooked your reader, and now you want to move on to the second part of your opening paragraph, and that's going to be your additional information. So we have the hook down here going into the fish's mouth. Just like this is going to be a nice smooth transition into extra information. This is where you sort of elaborate or you explain about why you chose that hook. This right here, this section of this paragraph, it's going to prepare a nice transition into your thesis statement, which is going to come next. This part really explains what you've just said. It kind of acts as a bridge in between, wow, you really want to read this, and hey, here's my thesis statement. Lastly, you have your thesis statement. Your thesis statement should come at the end of the first paragraph. And here's a super simple formula for you to use and for you to follow whenever you're writing your thesis statements. I know we did a little bit of work with those last week, and I promised you that we would do more work this week. It is basically what you plan to argue plus how you plan to argue it, and that equals your thesis statement. You need to be careful though, because you need to make sure that the rest of your paper, the rest of your essay, will cover the contents in your thesis statement. You don't want to make it too broad. You don't want to say, oh, this uses symbolism, metaphors, hyperbole, similes. You don't want to go on and on and on, because that's going to make a longer paper for you. You want to make sure that you are clear and you are concise, and you're going to keep it simple, especially for the prompt that you're going to be working on with your character foils. You want to make sure that that's something that you can really stick to and not spend forever having to explain. It's also important not to forget to mention the author and the work. So whoever wrote the book or whoever wrote the story that you're working on, you want to mention them, just give them a little shout out, and you want to write about whatever story you're talking about. And in just a second, I'm going to give you an example that will make it easier for you to see how all of this is going to blend together and flow nicely into your opening paragraph. After after you've filled out your sheet and you've written all this information, you are going to need to get 3 color pencils. You need a yellow, an orange, and a red. When you have your colored pencils, all I want you to do is I want you to color code these 3 boxes. So for the hook, you are going to color it yellow. After you've colored the first box yellow, you're going to move on to the second box. You want your hook to be yellow because you want it to be the bright spot. You want it to be what really attracts your reader to your paper. You're going to move on and transition nicely into your additional info part of the paragraph by coloring it orange. Once you've colored the hook box yellow and we have the additional info box orange, we're going to move on to your thesis statement box, and you're going to color that red. Red because it signifies that you are about to stop your opening paragraph and actually move on to the analysis section of your paper. So color this box red. Once you've colored all 3 boxes, your paper should look similar to this, and you are going to move on to the sheet that you should have that looks like this. It is your practice intro paragraph about your character full project. What you need to do is you need to read the paragraph that I've given you. It is a sample introductory paragraph. And then down below you have certain things listed that you are going to highlight and you are going to talk about and you're going to analyze. After you finish that, you're going to scroll down to the very bottom, and on a separate sheet of paper you are going to try to write your opening paragraph for your paper for your character full project. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be complete. We will work on it tomorrow, and I can answer any questions that you might have.